The mountain shook with a sound like a gunshot. The snow beneath the first climber's feet cracked in a jagged line that raced across the slope. Before she could even scream, the entire face of the mountain broke free. One moment she was traversing the slope, roped to her Sherpa guide. The next, they were tumbling in a violent torrent of white. A few hundred feet below, the second climber, also battling the same relentless mountain, felt the shockwave as the snow around her began to shift. She glanced up, watching her rival battle the mountain's anger. In an instant, two women, each fighting to be the first to conquer all 14 of the world's highest peaks, started desperately fighting for their lives instead. Moments ago, one of them had typed, "Summit should happen in the next couple of days. I may go quiet," in excitement to her mother. Little did she know that within 72 hours, she would become the face of a tragic situation every adventurer fears. From an Instagram-fueled race to the death zone, to fateful decisions that couldn't be undone. Today, we're diving into the strange, dark, and mysterious story of two American women whose competition turned deadly on the roof of the world. Welcome to the Extreme Edge. On a quiet evening in 2021, in a Paris apartment, Anna Gutu, a 33-year-old Moldovan American, scrolls through Netflix looking for something to watch. Nothing catches her attention until she notices a thumbnail of a man standing triumphantly on a snow-capped peak. 14 peaks. Nothing is impossible, reads the title. She clicks play, not knowing that this decision would completely alter the course of her life. As the documentary unfolds before her, Anna's eyes widen. On her screen is Nirmal Nims Persia, a charismatic former Gurkha soldier and special forces operator from Nepal. She watches, increasingly captivated, as this man declares his seemingly impossible goal: to climb all 14 of the world's 26,000-foot peaks in under a year. For decades, these mountains had been considered the ultimate challenge in mountaineering. Most elite climbers who attempted all 14 spent their entire careers, sometimes 20 years or more, completing the set. Many never finished, and some never returned. But here was Nims, moving with startling speed and confidence across the world's roof. Instead of slow, methodical expeditions, he and his team raced from mountain to mountain. They used helicopters to leap between base camps. They climbed with supplemental oxygen, but often in brutal conditions that would have turned back most teams. With each summit Nims conquered on screen, something stirred inside Anna. Perhaps she saw herself in his story, another outsider challenging the establishment. Perhaps she recognized his hunger, his refusal to accept conventional limitations. When the credits rolled, Anna sat motionless. In just 6 months and 6 days, Nims had accomplished what most thought impossible. The film had shown that these formidable mountains could be conquered quickly, systematically, even by someone who hadn't spent a lifetime preparing. For most viewers, it was simply an inspiring documentary. For Anna Gutu, it was a revelation, a challenge, a call to destiny. That night, as she lay awake thinking about what she'd seen, Anna made a decision that would ultimately lead her to Shishapangma's deadly slopes. She would follow in Nim's footsteps. She would climb all 14 peaks, and in doing so, she would become someone new, someone extraordinary. Born in Moldova during the lean post-Soviet years, Anna grew up using food stamps for bread and sugar. By her early 30s, she had moved to America and built a comfortable life. But something was missing. "It was time for me to reset my life and follow my dreams," she would later write on Instagram. Watching Nim Persia's journey unlocked something in her. She put her plans to open a French bakery on hold and devoted herself entirely to climbing. Despite having almost no high-altitude experience, Anna felt a certainty deep in her bones that this was her path, her destiny unfolding before her. The mountains were calling, and she had no choice but to answer. By 2022, she had begun posting training clips, climbing photos, and expedition updates. Her Instagram feed transformed into a digital diary of grit and transformation. She even summited Manaslu, her first 26,000-foot peak that year, and later climbed Aconcagua, the tallest mountain in South America. Attention trickled in, followers multiplied. She went from a woman with a dream to a climber with a mission, but she wasn't the only American woman with her eyes on the prize. While Anna was just beginning her mountaineering journey, Gina Rzucidlo was already well on her way. At 45, Gina was a different kind of climber altogether. Her mother, Susan, describes how even as a toddler, Gina was restless. At 14 months old, she climbed repeatedly out of her crib. I'd put her back, she'd climb right back out. It ended nap time for Gina. That restless energy never left her. Growing up in an Italian-Polish family outside Boston, Gina developed a love for travel and adventure that eventually led her to the world's highest mountains. While she worked various jobs in Manhattan, like flight attendant, realtor, and esthetician, her true passion was climbing. By 2018, she had already summited Mount Everest and completed the 7 summits, the highest peak on each continent. But Gina wanted more. She had her sights set on joining an ultra-exclusive club. Climbers who had summited all 14 26,000-foot peaks. For her, it was a methodical, years-long project. One mountain at a time, no shortcuts. Unlike Anna's glamorous Instagram presence, Gina was intensely private. She didn't even have a social media account. Her friends describe her as having a loud, contagious laugh and being incredibly generous. The kind of climber who would tip her Sherpas generously and occasionally fly them to New York just to show them around. On one Christmas, she surprised her nephew with a gas-powered go-kart, then spent the afternoon ripping around in it herself, that infectious laugh echoing through the neighborhood. To her family, she wasn't just a world-class mountaineer. She was the fun aunt, the adventurous sister, the daughter who never lost her childlike enthusiasm despite conquering the world's highest peaks. By early 2023, Gina had successfully climbed 11 of the 14 26,000-foot peaks. She was tantalizingly close to making history as the first American woman to complete the set. Only Lhotse, Cho-Oyu, and Shishapangma remained, the final hurdles to her goal. In May 2023, at Everest Base Camp, these two women met for the first time. Gina was there to climb Lhotse, her 12th 26,000-foot peak, while Anna was attempting back-to-back ascents of Everest and Lhotse, her 3rd and 4th high peaks. They chatted briefly in the elite Exped coffee lounge tent, Anna even complimenting Gina on her beautiful eyes, before parting ways. At this point, there was no competition. Anna was so far behind that she wasn't even on Gina's radar. But then, something extraordinary happened. In the months following that encounter, Anna began ticking off 26,000-foot peaks at a pace that shocked the mountaineering community. One after another, she summited some of the world's most dangerous mountains as if she were collecting stamps. By the end of July, just 2 months after meeting Gina, Anna had successfully climbed all 5 26,000-foot peaks in Pakistan, bringing her total to 11. You're probably wondering how. After all, climbing a 26,000-foot peak is supposed to be an incredibly difficult feat, and it is. But Anna's rapid ascent through the ranks of high-altitude mountaineering was facilitated by a combination of factors. For one, she partnered with Elite Exped, the guiding company founded by Nirmal Persia, whose own record-breaking climbs inspired her journey. This partnership provided Anna with access to experienced Sherpa guides, logistical support, and the infrastructure necessary for swift transitions between expeditions. By utilizing helicopters to move between base camps, climbing with supplemental oxygen, and relying on the expertise of her guides, Anna was able to maintain a relentless pace and climb these peaks fast. And her determination and her physical fitness played a key part too. Although the support of a seasoned team and other factors raised eyebrows amongst some climbers, her rapid rise was undeniably impressive. The newcomer was suddenly just one mountain behind Gina Rzucidlo's 12. And that's when things got complicated. Tiny detour on this chaos train. If you want more raw, uncut stories we can't show here, come join the Extreme community on Patreon. We'll see you on the real Extreme Edge. In July, Gina and Anna met again at Gasherbrum 2 base camp in Pakistan. This time, the mood was different. Gina texted a friend about Anna, a typical Instagram climber. I don't understand why these people just jump into climbing and try to rush all of these mountains. It's taken me so many years to get to where I am. By September 2023, both women were neck and neck, each needing just 2 more peaks to complete their 14, Cho-Oyu and Shishapangma. There was just one problem. Both were located in Chinese-controlled Tibet. This was problematic because obtaining permission to climb in Tibet is notoriously difficult. China's permitting process is complex, unpredictable, and often takes weeks longer than expected. Both women returned home, Gina to New York, Anna to Paris, and anxiously waited for permits. When permits finally came through, the race was on. On October 1st, 2023, Gina successfully summited Cho-Oyu, her 13th peak. As she descended, she encountered Anna heading up the same mountain. This chance meeting seems to have triggered something in Gina, a sudden, urgent need to stay ahead of her competitor. The tension is palpable in her message to family. "She won't beat me regardless," she wrote, "but it is pressure." Meanwhile, Anna, who summited Cho-Oyu 2 days later, recorded a voice memo on her GoPro. "My opponent, I would say, is playing dirty," she said. Last minute, she changed her climbing company. She hired additional guides to trailblaze and open the route for her. For Anna, the competition had become deeply personal. It's not about the record, but I think the point has to be proven here. We don't know for certain if Anna and Gina had a direct confrontation when they passed each other on Cho-Oyu, but imagine that moment. Two competitors face to face on a narrow mountain path, thousands of feet above the earth. What words might have been exchanged? What tensions might have simmered between them? The chance encounter between rivals in such an extreme environment could have intensified the competition beyond what either woman had initially intended. I need you to take a look at climbing at extreme altitude, because what these two ladies were attempting was a completely different reality from regular mountain climbing. Imagine putting on 10 layers of clothing, strapping spikes to your boots, and carrying a 40-pound pack. Now imagine trying to climb stairs in that gear while breathing through a cocktail straw. That's what climbing above 26,000 feet feels like. They call it the death zone for a reason. At that altitude, there's roughly 1/3 the oxygen you're breathing right now. Your body is literally dying. Every step requires 3 or 4 breaths. Your brain begins to swell. Your lungs fill with fluid. Even with supplemental oxygen flowing through a mask, you're fighting a losing battle against time. Climbers in the death zone describe a dreamlike state. Simple tasks become monumental challenges. Zipping up a jacket might take 5 minutes. Logical thinking becomes nearly impossible. One climber described it as being extremely drunk while also having the worst flu of your life. And then there's the cold. Bone-chilling temperatures that can hit -40 degrees. Any exposed skin can freeze in minutes. Your water freezes solid inside your pack. The moisture from your breath forms ice crystals on your oxygen mask that must be chipped away. Now imagine spending not minutes, but days in these conditions. Sleeping in a tent anchored to the side of a mountain where the howling wind threatens to rip it off its face. Melting snow for water, unable to eat because your body is shutting down all non-essential functions. Many climbers lose 15 to 20 pounds in a single expedition. And of course, there's a huge chance of an avalanche or ice fall. This is the environment where Anna and Gina found themselves in October 2023. Both exhausted, oxygen deprived, and fixated on being first. Both pushed beyond normal human limits by the proximity to their goal. After the encounter on Cho-Oyu, Gina was determined to stay ahead. The original Sherpas assigned to guide her wanted to wait for the rest of the teams to arrive so they could cooperate in breaking trail through the deep snow. But Gina couldn't wait. She made a desperate move. She contacted 7 Summit Treks, another guiding company, and requested Tenjin Lama Sherpa, the superstar Sherpa who had recently guided Norwegian climber Kristen Harila to a record-breaking 92-day ascent of all 14 26,000-foot peaks. This wasn't a minor change of plans. According to reports, Gina paid a $30,000 deposit just to secure Lama's services at the last minute. She wanted the absolute best Sherpa on her side for the final push. But there was a problem. For 2 days, snow had been falling on Shishapangma, creating dangerous avalanche conditions. The wind was blowing plumes off the summit, a clear warning sign to experienced mountaineers. When Gina arrived at base camp on October 4th, fellow climbers warned her about the dangerous conditions. But Gina, according to witnesses, didn't want to wait because she had the strongest Sherpa on the mountain. Here's something crucial to understand about high-altitude mountaineering. Fresh snow plus wind equals avalanche danger. It's like loading a gun and cocking the hammer. All it takes is one trigger, one climber in the wrong spot, and tons of snow can break free in an instant. On October 5th, the day before the final summit push, a smaller avalanche struck near Camp 1, burying a Japanese climber before a Sherpa rescued her. This wasn't just a warning sign. It was nature screaming that conditions were unsafe. Yet both teams continued upward. On October 6th, both women reached Camp 2. The tension in the thin mountain air was palpable. Rzucidlo retreated to her tent immediately, oxygen mask on, the atmosphere around her noticeably tense, according to witnesses. Just a 15-minute walk away, Gutu's team was struggling with their own challenges. No proper tent and scavenging food from other teams. In a video recorded that night, you can see Gutu and her climbing partner with their feet stuffed into a single backpack for warmth, their breath steaming in the frigid air. "We have nothing. We're eating dry noodles," her partner chuckled. "You know, I'm happy to have at least something," Gutu answered, still smiling despite the hardship. It was a glimpse of optimism that had carried her through 11 massive mountains in less than 2 years. Though physically close enough to see each other's camps, the women remained apart like rival generals before battle, communicating only through their guides. Dawa Yangzum, stressed by the growing rivalry, implored Lama and Gurung to persuade the two women to cooperate for the summit push, which would be safer for all. But when approached separately with the suggestion to climb together and share the achievement, both women refused. No amount of reasoning about safety could overcome their determination. Lama even showed Rzucidlo a video of him and Harila climbing K2 as a team, but to no avail. The guides returned to their respective camps with the same answer. The competition had become all-consuming, overriding even basic mountain safety principles. Neither woman was willing to yield. As they prepared for their summit push the next morning, neither woman could have imagined what was waiting for them on the mountain's upper slopes. Dawn on October 7th, 2023. The elite Exped and Imagine Nepal team, including Anna Gutu, set off for the summit at 2:48 a.m. Hours later, Gina and Lama followed, moving at what witnesses described as a stunning pace. Around 10:30 a.m., Anna Gutu and her guide Mingmar Sherpa reached a point close to the false summit of Shishapangma. They had two options: follow the traditional, safer route along the ridge, or take a shortcut across the dangerous northeast face. As you'd expect, they chose the shortcut. As they traversed the exposed face at a 45-degree slope of pristine white that stretched thousands of feet below them, something happened that would change everything. Now, if you look at the face of Shishapangma mountain from a distance, you'll notice something strange. Unlike Himalayan giants like the jagged vertical walls of K2 or the sharp ridges of Everest, Shishapangma's northeast face seems smooth, a vast sheet of white tilting into the sky. It looks inviting, achievable, even manageable. But that smoothness is the danger, because smooth, uniform snow often means wind-loaded slopes, and wind-loaded slopes, after fresh snowfall, are avalanche factories. When snowstorms hit these types of mountains, they don't just leave a soft blanket. The wind picks up that fresh powder and carries it, slamming it into specific faces and piling it high into unstable drifts. And when sunlight hits after a storm, the danger triples. The surface softens, the bond between layers weakens even more. That day, Gutu's team was carefully climbing the northeastern part of the mountain when it happened. Without warning, a massive crack split the silence. The entire snow face separated from the mountain, like a giant white curtain being ripped away. In less than 2 seconds, Anna and Mingmar disappeared in a churning cloud of white. The radio exploded with panicked voices. "Anna! Anna! Anna!" But there was no response, just static. From below, climbers watched in horror as the avalanche thundered down the slope, burying their friends under tons of snow and ice. When it settled, there was nothing. Just an empty slope where two people had been moments before. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Gina, Rzucidlo, and Lama Sherpa were in a position to witness what had just happened. They could see that Anna and Mingmar were gone. According to multiple sources on the mountain that day, They watched fellow human beings be swept away right in front of their eyes. And what did they do? They kept climbing. Now, this might come as a surprise to you, but to be fair, this probably wasn't the first time for Lama to witness death on the mountains. He might have witnessed hundreds of them. As for Gina, I want you to imagine that for a second. You're less than 200 feet from your goal, a goal you've spent years pursuing, but you've just witnessed death firsthand. Most people would turn around, but knowing just how much this meant to her, it's no surprise that Gina and Lama continued upward, step by step, toward the summit. We'll never know exactly what words passed between them in those critical moments, but we do know that at extreme altitude, decision-making is severely compromised. Some on the mountain reported by radio that the Lama wanted to descend, but ultimately the pair continued upward. Picture them climbing higher, their oxygen masks fogging with each labored breath. The weight of what they'd just witnessed hanging over them. They were so close now, just minutes from the top. That's when someone below screamed a single word that no climber ever wants to hear. Avalanche. For the second time that day, the mountain released its fury. Another massive slab broke free, this time directly in the path of Gina and Lama. For Gina and Lama, there's not even time to react. 1 second they're climbing, the next they're caught in nature's most violent embrace. The wall of snow hits them at 80 miles per hour, ripping them from their anchors. Their bodies are instantly ragdolled, spinning and tumbling through the suffocating white chaos. The force is unimaginable, like being hit by a speeding train, then dragged underwater through concrete. They tumbled, powerless against the mountain's fury, and fell into the massive crevasses below. When rescuers searched the area later, all they found were empty packs, Gina's boots in 2 different locations, and the eerie hiss of an oxygen bottle with its regulator broken, like the last breath of someone who's no longer there. 4 people who had woken up that morning with dreams of standing on top of the world were now gone forever. There's a moment that haunts me in this story. In January 2024, 3 months after this tragedy, Gina's mother sent a friend to Tibet. This friend managed to reach the Chinese driver's camp, the closest accessible point to where Gina disappeared. There, in view of the snow-covered mountain that had taken her daughter, he set up a small memorial with photos of Gina and her 3 beloved dogs. Even after 3 months, Susan asked him to do one thing when he reached the mountain. When you're there, can you please just call her name? This is the human toll of ambition pushed too far. A mother who still can't accept that her daughter is gone. A sister, Elena Sibanova, who was finally able to recover Anna's body in May 2024, but says her grief started from 0 when she saw her sister for the first time, 9 months after her death. And let's not forget Mingmar and Lama, the Sherpas who died roped to their clients, men with families back in Nepal who depended on them, men who, as one Sherpa put it, were just helping those 2, and they both died. When I look at the whole picture, 2 women racing to be first up a mountain most people have never heard of, 4 lives lost in pursuit of a record that would be forgotten by most within weeks. I'm left with questions that have no easy answers. There's no denying the courage these climbers showed, the physical and mental strength required to climb even one 26,000-foot peak is beyond what most of us will ever experience. There's something undeniably human about pushing boundaries, testing limits, and seeking to be first. But there's also something to be learned from this tragedy. Perhaps it's not about giving up on our dreams, but about remembering that sometimes the mountains will still be there tomorrow. Sometimes turning back is the bravest thing you can do. In the end, the mountain remains, indifferent, eternal. Shishapangma stands today as it has for millions of years. Its slopes once again quiet. Its deadly secret waiting for the next ambitious climber who doesn't know when to turn around. Want to support the channel? Join for exclusive perks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay bold and live brave.